All right, so what we want to measure are the properties of our stuff, right? How hot is something? How much does something weigh? How much room does it take up? How dense it is, that kind of thing. So there's two main types of properties. There's intensive properties, and then there's extensive properties. So intensive properties do not depend on the amount of stuff. Whereas extensive properties do depend on the amount. So let's take a look at some examples of each one of these. I think this kind of works well with examples. So if you think about the temperature of something, that is an intensive property. If you have water at 100 degrees Celsius, it doesn't matter if it's a gallon, a liter, a milliliter, it's all this. If it's the same temperature, it's independent of how much stuff you have. Another example of an intensive property is density, right? Talking about how dense something is. If you have one bowling ball or two bowling balls, it doesn't matter how many you have, they have the same density. Another example is color, right? Color, if something's blue, it's blue whether you have one of it or two of it. It doesn't matter how much you have. Whereas extensive properties do depend on the amount. So for example, weight, right? If you have two bowling balls, they weigh more than one bowling ball. Volume, if you have 1 liter of water, that's less than 10 liters of water. And then one thing that kind of trips some people up is heat. Heat is an extensive property while temperature is an intensive property. So the way I like to think about heat is if you drop 1 drop of boiling water on yourself, that's not that big of a deal. If you drop a gallon of boiling water on yourself, that's a much bigger deal because that gallon has more energy in it, and so it has more heat, even though they're at the same temperature. So here's just some examples of the above in terms of intensive and extensive properties. So you can read through it on your own and make sure that they all make sense. At the end of the day, you want to be able to identify whether something's an intensive or extensive property.